Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into a report from Simulations Plus, and let me tell you, it involves some serious accounting shakeups. It's like when your favorite band suddenly swaps out their drummer mid-tour, you know something's up. Let's find out what's going on. Alright, this is a Form 8K filing. Companies use these to report major events to the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC. Think of it as a breaking news report for investors. This one's dated April 15, 2025. So what big event is Simulations Plus telling us about? Here it is. The company changed its independent accounting firm. Basically, the people who check their math and make sure the financial statements are correct. This is a pretty big deal because investors rely on these auditors to ensure the company's numbers are trustworthy. The company's audit committee, a group of people in the company in charge of this type of stuff, decided to switch things up after a review process. They fired Rose, Snyder and Jacobs LLC, or RSJ, on April 15, 2025. They were the previous math checkers. Now, the company says that there were no disagreements with RSJ about how to account for things, what to show in the financial statements, or how the audits were done. If there had been disagreements that weren't resolved, RSJ would have had to mention it in their report. There also weren't any reportable events, which are things that might make investors question the company's financial health. RSJ's audit report for the fiscal year that ended August 31, 2024 didn't have any bad opinions or disclaimers, and it wasn't changed because of uncertainty, the scope of the audit, or accounting rules. So on the surface, it looks like everything was fine between the company and RSJ. Simulations Plus did the proper thing and gave RSJ a copy of this report before sending it to the SEC. They asked RSJ to write a letter saying whether they agree with what the company said about them in this report. This is a standard procedure to make sure everyone's on the same page. Okay, so who's the new math checker? Grant Thornton LT, or just Grant Thornton? They're a pretty well-known firm. The Audit Committee hired them on April 15, 2025 to audit the company's financial statements for the year ending August 31, 2025. That's effective immediately. The company also states that they didn't talk to Grant Thornton about any accounting questions or what kind of audit opinion they might give before hiring them. They also didn't have any disagreements or reportable events with Grant Thornton. This is important because it shows that the company wasn't shopping around for an auditor who would give them a more favorable opinion. Here, the company is listing the exhibits to the report, including the letter from RSJ that we talked about earlier. This is the letter from the old accounting firm RSJ, basically confirming that they agree with what Simulations Plus said about them in the report. It's a standard formality, but important for transparency. Now let's step back and think about this whole situation. The change in auditors might make some investors a little nervous. Why did they make the change? Was it just a routine review, or was there something more to it? While the company says there were no disagreements, these things can be complex. Sometimes companies and auditors have different views on how to account for certain transactions, and it can lead to a parting of ways. Simulations Plus is a company that develops simulation software for drug development and chemical modeling, so their financials are tied to the pharmaceutical and chemical industries. If those industries are doing well, Simulations Plus likely benefits. If those industries are struggling, it could impact their revenue. This context is important when evaluating their financial decisions. The fact that the company is hiring a well-known firm like Grant Thornton could be seen as a positive. It might give investors more confidence in the company's financial reporting. Grant Thornton will have to dig into Simulations Plus's financials and give their own independent opinion, which will be interesting to watch. The report was signed by Will Frederick, who is both the Chief Financial Officer and Chief Operating Officer. This highlights the concentration of power in a single person and might raise questions about oversight. Ultimately, this change in auditors is something that investors should keep an eye on. It doesn't necessarily mean anything bad is happening, but it's a signal to pay closer attention to the company's financial reports in the future. So what's my take on Simulations Plus? On the surface, this auditor change seems like a pretty normal business move. The company says there were no disagreements and they've hired a reputable firm in Grant Thornton. That being said, auditor changes always raise an eyebrow. It's worth keeping an eye on this one. Thanks for tuning in to Corporate Decoder. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more insights into the world of corporate filings. Until next time.